All right, folks. So this is our number three of three. We're going to be finishing up our discussions on New Year's transformation. And in this session, we're going to talk about developing our roadmap. So you guys remember in our very first class, we talked about just kind of having a vision for what you want your future to look like. And then we talked about aligning some habits and kind of getting a little bit clear on what you want. And then this session, we're going to talk about developing that actual roadmap. And remember, everything started from this question here, which was if you woke up tomorrow with $1 million in your bank account, what would change in your life in these areas? And the reason we have these four topics is these are pretty good headers for pretty much anything, right? And it kind of forces you to think about, hey, if I have tons of money and I'm in a wheelchair because my poor health, that's not really it's not necessarily a full life. Or if you have $1 billion in your bank account and you're all alone, that's also not a fulfilling life. Or if you're working 97 hours as a business owner and you're not enjoying life, right? So it's kind of a balance of all of those things. But I want to share something. This is my observation, and this is the biggest thing that that I've observed between successful and unsuccessful people. And I'm not defining what success is here. Everyone has their own definition. Some people refer to it as being happy, then you're successful. Some people refer to it as X number of dollars in your bank. Everyone has their own definition. I'm not trying to define what success or what a lack of success looks like. But the biggest thing I've noticed, and I actually wrote a blog article that got 500,000 views on this, and boy, did I get lots of haters. The thing that I've observed, you guys ready? The thing I've observed, the biggest difference between successful and unsuccessful people is how they spend their free time. Now, if you think about this, anybody regardless of where you live, regardless of how much is in your bank account, we all have free time. And how we choose to spend that free time is super, super important, right? Would you guys agree? Because obviously, if you have an hour here, an hour there, and you are just playing games on your iPhone, well, maybe that's once or twice a week, but added up over a lifetime, that is a whole lot of time that maybe you could have spent on something that had a higher priority, which was, trying to pursue your goals. And the reason I am saying this is everyone has a choice with their free time. Everyone. And some of you guys know my story. I sold my company, my most recent company in 2016, and I had the new buyer, and I agreed we were going to agree on who the new CEO was going to replace me, as I had been in that role for 14 years and ready to move on. And the new CEO that we ultimately hired, once we hired him, he said, "Matt, let me see your phone." And I'm like, okay, what is this about? So I unlocked it and I handed it to him, and he scrolls through page after page on my phone. And I said, "What are you looking for?" He said, "I want to see how many games you have on your phone." I said, "Oh, I can tell you, I have 0 games on my phone." He said, "I love it. That's exactly what I want to hear." And I said, what does that make a difference?" He said, "That tells me that you are not a time waster." And I was looking at several guys standing behind the CEO who they were just talking about their favorite game on the iPhone. And I didn't say anything, but it was kind of an interesting moment in time where they were talking about they love the fishing game or they love the sports game or the this or the that game. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. He said, "Matt, those people are time wasters." And I found that so fascinating because every day we have a choice to waste time or improve the future version of yourself. And again, this is available to anyone, regardless of what your bank account looks like. So, for example, let's say hypothetically, uh, someone lives in the poorest country in Africa, 12 years old, and his dream is to become a pilot one day. He has $0, and traditional education for for him is and financial reasons are probably out of reach. But if he wanted it bad enough, Do you guys think he could figure out some kind of way, some kind of barter, something to either earn the money or work somewhere to have some kind of a trade to start the education to become a pilot? I think he absolutely could if he really wanted it and he wanted it bad enough, right? And there's this rule, you guys probably heard of this. This is called the 80-20 rule. And the idea is most people spend their time relaxing and kind of 20% on their goals. And what I'm suggesting is we kind of flip that around, right? Is that we spend more time on our goals and a little less time relaxing. Now, the thing that we're going to focus on, of course, are these areas. And what I want to do is I want to give you guys some examples. We're going to pop over here into our strategic plan. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of things that I wrote down. Yes, Matt does homework too, of things I wrote down. And this spreadsheet I share with you guys last session. I'll go ahead and put the link in here also. Let's see, in case you need that. Anyone needs that? There you go. And so let's say hypothetically that in 5 years, I want a YouTube channel with 1 million followers. You guys feel like that's doable? Obviously, not tomorrow, not next week, not in 30 days. And this is a 5 year activity, right? So 5 years, and it's kind of in the career business, right? Now, in order for that to be true in 1 year, maybe where do I need to be? Maybe I need to have 100K followers in a year, right? You guys agree? Because in order for that to be true, I need to have 100K followers in a year. And then obviously, as it grows and compounds, then of course, we can what? We can grow that to 1 million followers. But what are the like action steps? What are the things I need to do in the next 90 days? Well, I probably should research top YouTube um, influencers to study their content, right? You guys think that would be helpful if you want to build a YouTube channel of 100K followers? Probably. Now, what's something I might need to stop doing? Well, stop endless scrolling on YouTube, right? There's a reason they call it the infinity scrolling, right? You just scroll forever and ever and ever, and it just never stops, right? So that's an example of what I want 5 years from now, 1 year from now, and then walking it back in the next 90 days, some action steps I need to take. Does that make sense? Does anyone have something else they want to throw out here? I have a couple more examples, but I want to see if I can help either any of you here on the call with anything specific that we could kind of walk back and kind of help you shape what this should look like. You could throw it into our chat. So while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put another one in here that in the next year, I want to take girls, I have two daughters, they're 22 and 23, on annual trip. And I would just say, just with me, right? I actually have one scheduled in January for my youngest. My oldest and I have not scheduled that yet, but take girls on annual trip with me. Uh, take each girl on annual trip with me. My oldest wants to go to New York. New York right now kind of scares me. I've been to New York many times, but right now it kind of scares me. So in the next 90 days, we need to decide on locations, right? For for a trip, right? Sorry, not just locations, but dates. Let's say possible dates and locations. So I have, I don't know, a bunch of Marriott Bonvoy points. I have Marriott Vacation Club points. So we could narrow that down to somewhere, inside of the Marriott brand or, their sister companies to do that. What's something I need to stop doing? What would I need to stop doing in order to do this? You guys think of anything? I couldn't think of anything either. Maybe stop. Let's see. Let me think about stop procrastinating planning. You guys see how this works? So, I don't, this is not necessarily a 5 year activity. Not everything is requires 5 years, but obviously, if you want to have a house on the beach in St. Thomas and you want to save up for a down payment, that's probably not going to be a 90-day thing. That's probably going to be a several year thing, right? And so that's the reason why we have the 5 years, and so we usually start up here with the 5 year, 1 year, and then walk it backwards. So I'm going to give you guys another example. I want to qualify for the Iron Man World Championships in Kona, Hawaii. Does that sound like your dream, Peter? Does that sound like your dream?
Nope.
Svelana, you're
Nope.
in.
I have my own like goals for exercising.
Sure, sure. Not everyone is crazy. I get
Yeah.
it. So what about maybe for the next year, I want to complete 2 to 3, maybe half Ironmans, right? In the next year or two, right? I want to complete 2 to 3 half Ironmans. Now I've actually completed full distance and halves. I've done all of it. I've done actually every distance, the sprints, the Olympics, the halves, the fulls. I've done it all. But what's something I need to start doing? Well, I need to start research on local, or we'll say events, say half Ironmans within maybe 5 hour drive. The reason I don't like to fly anymore with my bike is because you have to take your bike apart, you have to ship it, usually goes with you on the plane. Uh, and a lot of times you're putting it together in a hotel, sometimes it's in the middle of nowhere. There are no bike shops around. It's kind of tough and a little bit strenuous. And no one exactly knows how to put your exact bike back together. And what do you do when you have extra parts or if something's broken or damaged? Well, I've been through that a few times. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna anywhere I can go 5 hour drive. That's my limit. I'll drive 5 hours each way. So I need to draw a circle around where I live. Where can I go within maybe 5 hours? Or maybe I can take 2 days and drive 5 hours each day or something, right? So I need to kind of research what are the events coming up within the next year, right? A lot of them start April or so, kind of end at the end of October. So I have the April to October window. So I need to make sure I can get those, make sure they line up with my schedule. You guys see what I'm doing? So that's the idea here is kind of walking back. What are the things that you want to do, and walk it back to determine what are the specific action items, the specific steps, so you can kind of develop that roadmap, right? So let's talk about actually here. What's one thing I need to stop? Well, I need to stop eating processed. It is really tough. I'm sorry, not processed sugars. Sugars. I don't know. It's really tough. I find I really have a sweet tooth, and it is tough over the holidays to do that. But stop eating sugars, right? That's obviously going to help you get lean and mean, and that's going to be helpful when you have to go the distance, right? So that I found that to be super helpful is try to lean up a little bit as you get closer to the event date, right? The actual day itself. Okay. Now that I have some of these, what are some visuals um, that I can like associate with these that I can kind of throw into maybe a folder and then kind of work towards building a vision board? Well, I can Google Kona a World Championship 20. It's not going to happen in 2025, but I could look at some images, right? So I can copy some of these, right? Maybe I can copy, let's see, save this image. I'm going to throw it in a folder I created here, Vision Boards Images. We'll call this Iron Man 1. What else can I do? Well, let's call it Iron Man swim. Let's see if we can find some. Yeah, there. That looks more like a swim. That's what I'm used to seeing. So we're gonna save this Iron Man swim, Iron Man bike. Oops. I actually have images of this myself, but obviously, if you've never done this before, you probably don't have images of yourself doing this. So this looks a lot like my. So I'm gonna save this, right? Boom. What else? Run. And you're usually running through a chute like this at the end. Yep. Save image as boom. Okay. Now let's go back into my plan. What about daddy-daughter dates? Well, I could say um, daddy-daughter trip, tropical. My kids love the beach. So my kids are a little older. Maybe something like this, maybe. No, that's still pretty young. I could find something in here, I'm sure. Uh, let's say daddy, I'll say adult daughter. Now, why am I saving these photos? Well, we're actually going to be building a vision board, and I'm going to walk you guys through that here in a sec. Okay, this might be a decent one. Save image as. Okay, let's see. Let's do Mexico. Let's say Mexico. There's actually a daddy-daughter trip. Look at that. Is that a movie? Huh. Okay. Rob, is that Rob Schneider? It is. Huh. Let's just say Maldives. Okay, here we go. So maybe I'm just gonna save this image. Boom, Maldives. Okay, what else? Well, YouTube, 1 million subscribers. What's a visual for that? You guys have seen this. A lot of a lot of people will get the 1 million. You guys see what I'm doing? I'm just saving these. Call YouTube 1M. Boom, 1 million subscribers. Maybe I'll have the YouTube logo also. So let's get that. Save image. Boom, boom. And I should have, let me double check. So Svelin, I don't buy those sugary treats. They just show up in my house. And I'm being serious. Uh, Wifey likes them. So, yeah. But it's a, the struggle is real, right? Okay, so now that I have some images, you guys feel like those are some decent images for just what I've kind of outlined here, a couple, three different kind of goals here. So what I can do then, now that I have some images, is there's really a couple things that you can do. And by the way, I know you guys you may or may not have seen this, but I actually wrote this article, How Successful People Spend Their Free Time, and I actually let me see if I can zoom in here, and I say either waste time or improve the future version of themselves. And I did post this. This is Banff National Park in Canada. And would you believe how much crazy, like, look at all these comments, people disagreeing with me. I'm saying, don't waste your time. It's valuable. And look at all these people agreeing or saying, well, that's one-sided. Well, money isn't everything. And what's interesting is, I mean, the comments just go on and on and on. And I think I had somewhere here that'll show you, yeah, almost 500,000 views on this. But you'll see here, I'm not defining what success is, right? And I just say, Mark Cuban, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, they don't spend hours on Snapchat, Instagram watching cute cat videos, right? So it's funny how you just say don't waste your time, and that's such a controversial thing. It was kind of shocking to me. So that's kind of the idea, right? And so what I want you guys to think about as we kind of wrap up is could you gather those images, clips, and start working towards a vision board, right? And the idea here, there's lots of examples. I found this one. This is kind of a super simplified one. And actually, I'm going to show you mine here in a minute that I actually had printed. But here's an idea. Here's some tips for when you collect your images. And remember, this is all very intentional, right? You have to be intentional. There's a reason why I wanted to get through these classes before the new year, right? That also was intentional. So one thing you can do here is you can include your strategic plan in the middle of your vision board. So imagine if you have a vision board, you got a whole bunch of images kind of scattered all around, and maybe you can take this strategic plan that you're building, put it in the middle, and then have all your images kind of scattered around. That's the idea, right? You can design it yourself on Canva if you have a little bit of a creative side, or I've literally paid, actually, I think I paid someone $14 one time, as much as $50 on Fiverr to hire a designer. Normally, you would have the final version is a PDF. PDF stands for printable design format. It literally, that's what it is. And then if you want, you can send these to Kinko's to have it printed on a laminated poster board. Right? It does it, sometimes 75, 50, depends on how big you want it. Okay. And the idea here is you want something that you can look at and cross paths with every day to remind you of what you're working on. Every day you work up, you wake up, you have a purpose, you're working towards something, you're being very intentional. And I would suggest no matter where you put it, that you move it every few months, right? So if you like put it in your bathroom or in your bedroom, at some point you get used to it being there and you kind of your brain just zones out and even though it's there, you kind of just tune it out because it's there and you're used to it. Just like your furniture, once you rearrange it, then you notice it more, right? And so I do recommend you move it around every month, every other month. Move it somewhere else. Okay. Does that make sense? So here's what I want to do. I want to share with you guys my vision board. You guys want to see it? What? What? Look at this. This is what I had created for this year. And you guys don't need to see the details, but you'll see some of my images here. I don't know if you can see swim, bike, run, right? Helicopter pilot's license, which I kind of rethinking that. Family events. This is my, I'm actually going to move that here. Building, forget the real life trading logo. But the idea is you can take all these images, collect it, either design it yourself or have someone print it, design it for you. It doesn't cost much, and you can literally send it to Kinko's and pick it up. And you can mount it. You usually get like double-sided tape or something and mount it somewhere that you can see it and be intentional with it. That is all I have for you guys. Do you have any questions? Is this making sense? Yeah, helicopter. Well, the problem with the helicopter license, Peter, is once I have it, I'm like, now what? I almost need to like see if I could volunteer somewhere to keep my flight hours and yeah. Otherwise, unless you own a helicopter, you have to kind of maintain it, service it. It's a very expensive hobby, but yeah. Yep. Any questions, folks? Is this making sense? Do you guys feel like this is helpful?
Yeah, makes sense.
Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to set you guys up for success, and it's really about can you take what I'm telling you, put it into action? Can you set aside the time to think about all this? I spent time like many hours over the last few weeks thinking about what I myself wanted. And obviously I'm not going to share there's some personal stuff I'm not going to share in a public setting like this, but there's financial goals, there's all kinds of things that I want to do and accomplish in the next 1 to 5 years that I myself am also working on being very intentional. And the reason that's important is why? Well, you don't intentionally create a New York Times bestseller. You don't accidentally create a New York Times bestseller. You don't accidentally climb Mount Everest. You don't accidentally run a marathon. You don't accidentally, right, write a book. You don't accidentally complete, anything of significance. It's all very, very intentional and very well thought out. And this is what I'm suggesting in your free time, be focused, be intentional, and stick with kind of the things that you think are important and work on developing that future version of yourself. That's what I have for you. Questions?
This was very good, Matt. I definitely liked it. I never thought of the visual and the visual pictures. I mean, that's it brings brings to light and make it, you know, seeable all the time.
Yep.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's just a constant reminder. Yep. Yep. Any other questions, thoughts, Steve, Delana?
Oh, thank you very much. It was quite helpful, and I did like the idea of moving it around. I've done this before, and
Yep.
I'm probably going to move it every week, though, because
Okay. Yeah.
it doesn't take long for things to blend into the background.
Yeah. Your brain kind of just tunes it out. Yep. So just added that move vision board around every few, I'll say weeks slash months. Yep. Cool. All right, folks. Well, if I don't see you, talk to you again, have an awesome and wonderful Christmas. We are headed to Maui here on first thing Saturday morning, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we will talk to you guys next year.